Ask Reddit Storytime. Please like and subscribe. 5 stories of frustrating encounters with entitled children. Entitled brat attempts to break my trumpet. This is more of a mashup of multiple things this kid has done. Sorry if there is bad spelling, I'm on mobile. So there is this kid in my school, he's the average bratty popular kid. Steals pens, pencils, exploits others, typical stuff. But this kid really gets on my nerves. I'm talking to my friend, also entitled kid's friend, and we are having a normal conversation, until entitled kid shows up and screams in my ear more annoyingly than James Charles himself. I say no, I'm not leaving. He screams again and again until I leave. He does this on a daily basis. After band concerts he will surround me with a screw of entitled brats and they all give me as little space as possible. This is a normal thing I'm used to. But this is the worst thing he's done. After every single band class, he'll purposely bump into me, knocking my trumpet out of my hand. Still in the case, but today, as I'm leaving the band room to go home, he fricking grabs my trumpet and eats it about 5 feet and then kicks it. Again, still in the case, but now, because of him, my spit valve is broken, meaning I have to blow to the point where I'm running out of air to get spit out of my trumpet without also removing one of the slides, which won't come out because entitled kid broke that too. He also constantly asks me if I can play songs on other instruments, which I say I can't because I play the trumpet. He also constantly tells me how he's better than me, both inside and outside of band. Yeah, of course, the kid who just bangs his drumsticks on the snare is better than the kid who actually tries. Anyway, that's just me venting. Thanks for reading, I guess. My uncle's fiancée and her hellspawn. Okay, so a little bit of context. Fiercely, because it might give you a better picture, I am a female, and I'm in a wheelchair. I have been since I was 10, but that's another long and arduous story I might tell if I find the right thread for mystery illnesses. But the part you need to know, arguably more than my lack of responsive legs, my uncle and I have never been super close, but he and my brother are incredibly close, and seeing as he's my dad's brother he pops up at family occasions now and then, and that's fine. I ignore him, he insults me, it's the way our relationship goes. My uncle has a habit, however, of dating women of a particular variety. That variety being unstable, unpredictable, and kind of not stupid, but not really bright, either. His newest girlfriend fit that mold to a T, and she came with 2 kids from 2 previous relationships. The first kid, the eldest, is super chill. He has some neurological and mental disabilities that mean he has to take medications in order to curb his spastic and impulsive behaviors, but he's a truly good and kind kid at heart and is genuine and true to himself. I have serious respect for that kid growing up in the house he lives in because that had to suck. His little sister, on the other hand, is vile. I call her hellspawn and I don't think it's at all inaccurate. I have a few instances with this impossible duo, so I'll try to include them here because why not? Some feature a fair degree of our entitled parents, but I thought that the number of entitled kid moments outranked them, so here we go. 1. There was the time S-Bon punched me in the face over a piece of cake, and that was only the beginning. So, here's how it goes. My family had popped over to my grandmother's house. My uncle's fiancée, and her 2 kids were there. I played card games with uncle's fiancée's son for a while, won most of the hands because I taught him the game and I know its tricks, and we generally had a good time laughing about things that were pretty silly. It was around Christmas, so it was something of an early celebration of Christmas with a smattering of family. We had dinner, exchanged a few gifts, and chatted at the table before dispersing into our own separate groups again to talk and mingle. It was about an hour or so later when my grandmother whipped out these various cheesecake, cake fusion delightful things and cut them into meticulous slices, figuring out which variety everyone wanted and handing them out with great care and efficiency so that, when all was said and done, there were no dessert leftovers. It was all very well thought out, and my grandmother is a real boss when it comes to organizing food. So I head off to one of the other rooms to talk music with my brother and uncle, as we're all musicians in some capacity. When Spawn spots me and walks over, realizing I'm still nursing my cake, which was chocolate chip cheesecake. So, yeah, amazing. I'm a very slow eater naturally because I tend to enjoy having conversations while I nibble delicately at my plate because I want to be ladylike or whatever. Hell, Spawn initially stands there with her empty plate, shifting on her heels and staring at me. I ignored her and the conversation I was having died off, and I still hadn't even finished half of my cake. My uncle and brother slip off into the next room and I decide to just go for it and eat the rest of my cake a little faster so I'm not still eating the same slice of cake at midnight. HS steps uncomfortably close to me and looks into my eyes. I already ate my cake. I blinked at her, nodded, and said, "Oh okay? So what?" Well, sure enough, Spawn demands to have my cake as well, because she still wants cake and there's no more, and my grandmother said no, there's no more. To which I told her that it was my grandmother's house, and my grandmother gave this to me. I want my own dessert. She already had hers, so no. No, I would not be giving up my cake. Hell, Spawn glares at me and demands again, growling this time. I'm starting to get annoyed, so I go to leave and she blocks my chair. At the angle she was standing at, I'd have had to hit her with my wheelchair, and potentially hurt her, to get out of the room. She's maybe 6 at the time, so I am really not eager to just hit her, so I tell her she needs to move. She tries to snatch my cake and I pull it away from her and put it down out of her reach, telling her once again, firmly, that she cannot have my cake because she's already had dessert and this is mine. She growls, lets out this awful yell, and punches me square in the nose. Now, the one thing I might mention for relevance is that my bones are incredibly brittle, so it takes relatively little impact to break my bones. Hell, Spawn cracked my damn nose punching me. It was sloppy and a pretty bad punch, but my medical condition left me fragile and she cracked my freaking nose on Christmas. At that point, it was no longer about the dessert and I went straight up to Uncle's fiancée and told her what had happened. She feigned some disappointment in her daughter for my uncle's sake, but told me not to be so worried because it's just cake and I'm sure she didn't hit you that hard, she's just a small child. And I'm sitting there staring at her like it doesn't matter that she didn't hit me as hard as an adult would have, it matters that your child hurt me over a piece of cake. Uncle's fiancé got incredibly irritated with me and literally turned around and would not face me. Feeling incredibly angry and like I had no other choice, I went to my parents and explained the situation, and my father, full of righteous fury, took it to his mother, whose home we were all staying in. And my father's fury was one thing, but no one is going to be entitled in my grandmother's house. She let Spawn have it. Uncle's fiancé was next, and she tried to defend her actions by explaining that it was just cake. My grandmother's beautifully crafted retort, exactly. So she shouldn't have broken her nose over just cake. It blew all our minds that Uncle's fiancé didn't understand why her daughter resorting to violence upon not getting her way was a bad thing. 2. So the next incident was around a year later. Spawn had learned that I have PTSD, and a certain array of developed phobias because of significant time spent in hospitals and dealing with terminal illness. There's a lot of backstory there, but one thing I cannot stand is bodily fluids. I can't touch someone else's or even really my own bodily fluids without feeling immensely disgusting, vomiting, and having severe panic attacks. At least, that was the case at the time. I've gotten better since then, but if you'd asked me when this all occurred I'd have told you I'd never get over it. So the obligatory visits roll around for birthdays and such around mid-May and I'm sitting at the table drawing. I'm something of an artist, so it's safe to say my drawing didn't look half bad and I was pretty absorbed in the process. Spawn comes up to me and asks for me to draw her something now. I tell her maybe later, I'm in the middle of this one, and I don't want to stop just for her. HS stamps her foot and says that I'm drawing, so why can't I just draw something else for a while? I explain that I'm already doing something, and it's rude of her to just ask me to drop what I'm doing because she wants me to. Spawn storms out and reappears with a notebook. Immediately, I get an awful feeling because this 7-year-old is staring at me with this awful glee. She throws the notebook down on top of my drawing and goes touch it. I was pretty fast to put two and two together and refused, backing up in disgust and already feeling shaky and grossed out. Hellspawn grabs the notebook and attempts to force it into my hands. What follows was the strangest freaking merry-go-round of horrors. Hellspawn intentionally found several of my worst triggers and phobias and I ritualistically exposed me to them in an attempt to get me to panic because it would be funny, and if I wasn't going to draw her something I should at least entertain her. I flipped and went straight to her mother, explaining that she was intentionally trying to send me into a panic attack. Uncle's fiancée rolled her eyes and took another sip of her third Bloody Mary and looked at me. My daughter is not sadistic. You don't have to be so dramatic. I am so frustrated, and I point to the notebook and inform her that her daughter has peed on it and colored over it with highlighter to try to mask it. You can tell, because the damn thing reeks of urine. Uncle's fiancée is disgusted, and then she demands to know why her daughter would carry that around. When Spawn said it was funny, Uncle's fiancée flew off the handle and told her daughter she was disgusting and she needed to never do that again. HS ran off crying, and I felt almost bad because her mother's reaction was just all wrong. She should not have handled it that way. Still, I couldn't help but feel supremely irritated that Uncle's fiancée only raised a fuss when it involved her directly. This was a habit of hers. Her daughter could torment me for hours trying to trigger a panic attack and would do all kinds of horrendous, violent things to myself and other people, and Uncle's fiancée only reacted when it involved her. She would even blow up at the inconsequential things that inconvenienced her, like a bag of candy spilling because Hellspawn pulled too hard on the plastic and tore it too far by accident. Some part of me felt really bad because I knew that Hellspawn was only this bad because her mother did not understand proper discipline at all, but that empathy went away fast when Hellspawn ran up to me later and licked my arms repeatedly. I started backing away from her and trying to wave her off without hurting her, and she straight up slapped me across the face for trying to get away from her. I was so fed up at that point that I just locked myself in my temporary bedroom and scrubbed my arms raw. I could go on, and will if someone wants to hear more. I could talk about the time she broke my leg at a museum, the time she almost killed my dog for entertainment, the time she threatened to yell rape really loud. I could just go on and on. Let me know. Birthday girl is a little bee. This happened to me today. As I write this, I've just gotten home from my shift. I work at a trampoline park that does birthday parties. That's enough for context. Let's meet our cast. Me equals me. Unbelievable, I know. Ek equals entitled kid, sis equals entitled kid's sister. So this happened at 1:55 p.m. this afternoon. The next group of people to come onto the trampolines were lining up for their session to begin, and the current session had 5 minutes left. Enter Ek. EK clears throat. I ignored it at first, thinking she was just literally clearing her throat. EK clears her throat again. Me looks at her to see if she wants something, giving the customer service smile. Hi, how can I help? EK, it's my birthday today. Me, oh nice, happy birthday, how oh. EK, cutting me off, I want to go on the trampolines now please. Me, you need to wait, this session still has 5 minutes left, and they'll get the full hour they paid for. EK, it's my birthday, I want to go on now. Me, you can't go on just yet, it'll only be a few minutes. EK, but daddy said I could go on as soon as I'd finished watching the safety video. Me, I'm afraid you can't, but it's not going to be long now. EK, but we're late. Me, no. You're early, there's still a few minutes left. EK, getting angry now, but daddy had to take a parcel, and we picked up the cake and now we're late. Sis, X name here, what are you going on about? EK, this man says I'm not allowed on. Me, size you'll go on at 2 p.m., get the full hour and come off at 3 p.m., it's literally like 2 minutes to go. Sis, listen, I know it's your birthday but you still need to wait like everyone else. EK, but I don't want to. Sis, kneels down to XI level. You listen here, This poor man has been here for hours and really could do without your bullshit. You're 13 now and you need to stop acting like a little kid. Grow up, go apologize, and behave. EK, with tears running down her cheek, she looks to me. Sorry. Me, no worries. Thank you to sis for your help, made my day a lot easier. My husband and I were going to have a picnic at the park with my church group. We brought our granddaughter with us and she noticed one of her friends lived near the park where we were having the picnic, so she asks if she can invite her friend. I agree and go to her friend's door. Granddaughter's friend will be ek number 1, her sister will be ek number 2, her father will be dad. I knocked on the door and ek number 2 answers. I introduced myself and asked to speak with her parents. Ek number 2 says, "My dad is here but he doesn't know anything, what do you want?" I was shocked. BTW. Me, I want to talk to your father. I will not take a kid to a church function without parental permission. Ek number 2, I said he doesn't know any, what do you want? Me, I wanted to invite your sister to my church picnic but I need your father's permission. Ek number 2 rolls eyes dead. She yells. Father sheepishly comes through the door. Ek number 2 closes the door with her foot in the door and positioned her body to block her father and tells him in a commanding voice this woman wants to take ek number 1 to a church picnic but she won't take her unless you give her permission. Dad, okay. Ek number 1 opens door and a very embarrassed father is presented. I introduced myself to him and explained my invitation. Ek number 2 interrupts me and says I already said she can go. I do this kind of double take, triple take because I can't believe a father would allow his daughter to be this way. Dad thanks me and says he's fine with his daughter going. Ek number 2 screams at the top of her voice ek number 1. And ek number 1 appears from her bedroom. Ek number 1 then goes to picnic with us. At the picnic my church has a bouncy house, water balloons, and we are at a park. Ek number 1 is playing on her phone while my granddaughter is watching. I finally say put the phone away and go play. Ek number 1 says you're not my boss. I say either put your phone away or go home. She complied and she and my granddaughter have a great time. When we get in our car to take her back she tells me she's never had anyone speak to her as rudely as I did. I laughed and told her I have never seen 2 girls treat their father like that. She tells I don't understand. Her father is really stupid. I told her I wouldn't care if my father was mentally challenged, I wouldn't talk about him like that. I actually pity her parents. I suspect when these girls are teenagers at least one, probably the father, will be arrested for child abuse, probably be unwarranted arrest. Ask Reddit Storytime, please like and subscribe.